What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Mother's Day weekend, and it's also my birthday weekend. What better way to celebrate than to do some pulled pork? Pulled pork is something that we really enjoy. Very easy to do. It just takes a lot of time, but pork is very forgiving. So if you're new to cooking, new to smoking, this would be a great first cook for you. Just have about 8 to 9 hours of free time, if you will, to prep it and get it ready. Today I went out and bought a big 9-pounder, so it'll probably take us anywhere between 8 to 10 hours. We're going to prep it tonight, but we won't cook it until tomorrow morning. Here we go. Alright, as you can see here, I got this big 9-pounder ready to go. What we're going to do is we're going to rub it down with some olive oil, and then we're going to put some of this Honey Hog here on it. I've heard really good things about it in the Big Green Egg Facebook group. I've also read some really good reviews about it, seen some other guys use it in their videos, so we're going to give it a shot. Couple things to clear up, which is pretty funny, but this is called a pork butt, but it is not. It is not the butt of the pig. It's actually the shoulder of the pig. So I know sometimes the names can be confusing, but this is the shoulder of the pig. You can see a lot of fat there. There's another big fat cap on the backside. As we smoke this thing low and slow, all that will just render away. This is about, again, 9 pounds of meat, but once it's all done, we'll probably have about 4.5 pounds of nice lean pork to pull and make sandwiches with. So without further ado, we'll get it rubbed down with some olive oil. We'll shake it down with some of this Honey Hog, and that'll be it. It's just that simple. Alright, as you can see, we got a nice coat of our Honey Hog barbecue rub on this butt. We did all 4 sides and also the edges as well. We're not going to do any injections or anything like that. This is actually a trial run for a bigger barbecue that I'm scheduled to do for Father's Day of this year. So just want to give this this very simple route a try. No injections, just rub. So again, we got it rubbed down. We're going to cover it with foil, put it in the refrigerator, and just let it do its thing for about 12 to 14 hours. That's a good way to get those seasonings kind of soaking into that meat, get those fibers to start breaking down. But yeah, we'll pull this bad boy off or out of the fridge tomorrow morning. We'll throw it on the Big Green Egg. Again, it'll take us maybe about 8 to 10 hours to get it right. But this is the first step. Rubbing it down, putting it in the fridge, and it's just that simple. Alright, everybody, it is day 2. We got the fire started. As you can see, I've got a good bit of charcoal in the firebox. Since this is going to be a long cook, we want to make sure we got enough fuel. We don't want to refuel the Big Green Egg, so got it filled up almost to the top of the ring there. Got it loaded with a fresh bag of raw oak. We got a couple chunks of applewood in the bottom, and then we'll throw a couple chunks of wood on top as well once we get the fire going. So we'll leave this open for about 7 to 10 minutes, and then we'll put the plate setter and grate on and get it dialed in. We want to get this bad boy right about 250 today, so that's our goal. Alright guys, as you can see, we're dialed in at 250. I want to show you the setup really quickly before we get the butt on. What I've done here is I have just a drip pan, a little bit of apple juice, a very little bit of apple juice for moisture, but the drippings from the butt will just fill that pan. It won't go directly on the plate setter. So that's what we got going on here. Again, it's all set up for indirect heat. This is going to take us anywhere from, I'm thinking, 8 to 10 hours at 250. So I'm going to get the butt on and let's get this thing going. Alright, there she is. And as you can remember, we seasoned this up and let it sit in the fridge overnight. We're going to do fat side up, let that fat just render out. It's going to make for a nice, juicy big pile of meat. So we're excited. You see, we got some good smoke rolling. Let's get this lid closed. We don't want to lose any of that. We won't adjust any vents or anything. The green egg will come back up to temp. But we'll get the timer on and sit back and relax. I think what we'll do is we'll peek in at the 2-hour mark. We'll spritz it down with a little apple cider vinegar. We'll check and see how things are rolling, but beyond that, we won't open this thing for 2 hours. So let's get the day going. Alright, I know some of my followers have Weber kettles, and you may be asking, hey Keebler, how can I do this on the kettle if I don't have a big green egg? The answer is very simple. What you would do in this case is you would just set up your Weber kettle for indirect heat. So you can kind of see my last cook was indirect. All my charcoal was lined up on this side of the grill. And this one, you can just load the flap right there. You can load it up with charcoal. And then you put your drip pan and your pork on this side of the grill. It creates indirect heat. In this case, I actually usually put my my vent stack on top of the pork. It creates an off reading with your temperature because your temperature probe is then directly over your coals. But if you only do maybe about a half basket or half chimney of coals, that should get you right about that 250, 275 mark. Of course, unfortunately, with this method, you'll have to keep refueling maybe every 2 or 3 hours with coals and with wood. But you can do anything on this Weber kettle that you can do on the big green egg. So with any videos I do, don't feel discouraged because I'm not doing it on the kettle. Just know that, you know, every method that we do on the big green egg, we can also do on the Weber kettle. Alright, we are at the 4-hour check-in. Things are moving along slowly but surely. May ramp the temps up to about 275 just to push this thing through a little bit quicker, but we'll see. I haven't probed the inside to see what the temps are, but I was hoping for a little bit more color than this right now, but it's okay. It's all good. We still got a lot more smoke to get through, so we won't wrap it just to help with that bark. But things are coming along pretty good. 4-hour mark. And what I'll do here is I've got 50-50 mix, only a half cup right now, of apple juice and apple cider vinegar. So I'll get this sprayed down, close it up, and we'll just let it continue to do what it does. As you can see, we got a little bit of smoke starting to roll out again, which is very good. It's what I'm looking for. But we're getting there, slowly but surely. That's what this is all about. Alright, y'all, this is the 7-hour check-in. It's looking pretty good. Not as much bark as I typically would like. I'm not sure if it's because of the lack of smoke, but we're still rolling. I didn't do a whole lot of wood chunks, but they're still good. We're going to spritz it down, make sure it stays moist. Again, everything's coming together pretty good. Now, what I've also done was I've gone ahead, opened up the vents a little bit more. And what that's going to do is go ahead and get my temps up. Hopefully about 225, 230. So we can go ahead and power through the stall. So if you're not familiar with the stall, I'll explain that to you. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the stall. When you're cooking big cuts of meat like this, your meat hits a stall point. And what I mean by a stall point is with this pork butt, once it gets about 160, 165 degrees internally, it just stays there. Especially if you're cooking low and slow. It can stay there for a couple minutes or it can stay there for several hours. You know, you could cook this 8-pound or 9-pound butt for 8 to 10 hours, or it can take up to like 15 hours just depending on the stall point. Some folks like to pull the meat off, wrap it in foil. That helps the meat push through the stall point. I don't like to wrap my pork butt for the sake of the bark. So what I do is I bump the temperatures up to about 325, 350 at most, and that'll just help push it through the stall point. After that, then we'll just continue to cook. We want to get to about 200 to 203, 205 at the absolute highest internal, and that'll make this pork extremely buttery for pulling for sandwiches or just to have by itself. So we'll continue to cook. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 hours we'll be at our point where we can pull this bad boy off, but stick around and we'll just keep going through this thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 10 hours later, and there she is. We have internal temps of 200 degrees. Looks pretty good. See that bone sticking out at the end?
Yeah, very good. Nice little bark after all. So we're gonna pull this off. We are going to wrap it, not completely, but just kind of tint it with some foil. We're gonna let it rest for at least 30 minutes. The reason why we want to do that is because we want all those juices to stay locked in. If we go and carve into it right now, all the juices are going to go to the bottom of the pan, and that's not what we want. We want the meat to remain juicy for our sandwiches. So again, this ended up being a 10-hour cook after we ended up basically turboing it to push through the sauce. So if I didn't do that method, it probably would have taken somewhere around 12 or 13 hours, but we didn't have that amount of time today, so we maxed out at 10 hours. Again, I'm going to pull it off and get it ready to eat.
Alright, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have pulled pork. We literally let it rest for about 30 minutes, and we just sat here with our hands and pulled it. That's how we used to do it back in Carolina. That's how I grew up doing it. So there we have it. So the last step that I like to do is to just spritz one more time with our apple vinegar mix, just a little bit, and then add a little bit more of our seasoning. And again, this is Meat Church Honey Hog. This stuff is really good. This is our first time trying it, but I had a piece of the bark, and it's good. It's really good. So we'll do it like that. We'll massage that in a little bit. Look at that. My dog's down here grabbing every little piece that falls on the ground. I don't blame her. So there we go, man. Pulled pork. Look how tender that is. That's going to be really good on some sandwiches. So we're going to plate up some sandwiches. Alright, y'all. Final steps. Plating it up. What I have here is some toasted brioche buns with some pickle. If you've never had a barbecue sandwich with pickles, trust me, you got to try it. And then we're just going to load this bad boy up with some pork. Look at that. Yeah. Now, secret ingredient. My wife makes this this sweet heat barbecue sauce. Can't really give you the ingredients to this, but just know, wife knows best when it comes to barbecue sauce. All right. Bingo. Just like that. Pulled pork sandwich. That is going to be good. All right. You know what time it is. Taste test. Man, that is phenomenal. That Meat Church Honey Barbecue seasoning is really, really good. I'm glad I gave it a shot before doing my big barbecue on Father's Day, but this is really, really good. I'm a little upset that I didn't have the proper time to go 12-15 hours on this, but as it would have really taken if I stayed at 225, 250. But overall, the product is still good. Still very juicy, very tender. The apple cider vinegar and apple juice mix was not strong at all. You can't really taste it into the meat. I know some people worry about putting vinegar on their meats. You can't taste it. Applewood smoked with pork is spot on. This was a good cook. So I'm going to go get the family. We're going to plate a couple of these up. We're also going to give some out to our neighbors. I'm sure they'll be happy. But we'll see you next time. Cooking with Keebler.